But listen, man, you're back from Sundance.
I am. I am.
Do you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
give us an update of what you witnessed there?
Let me talk. Well, first of all, let me say that this climate change thing might be for real, and I'm going to get in. It ties into Sundance. So I was back in Toronto over Christmas. 17 days, only one day to dip below freezing. So for
Hmm.
all of you Americans who think Canada freezing, not freezing, we only had snow one day, and I will tell you, when I was a kid, white Christmases every year. Yeah, awesome, yay.
Yeah, yeah,
Haven't
yeah.
had a white in over a decade. Okay. Fast forward to a couple weeks later in Sundance, much colder, in Park City than Toronto normally. One day of the 4 days that I was there did it dip below freezing.
Hmm.
There was a bunch of snow, but it was that that soft mushy stuff, which is less appealing, just because it was there and it got cold. But anyway, okay, so in a way, happy because I'm not freezing cold while I'm up there, but in a way, what the heck is going on? That said,
Yeah, yeah.
11 movies in 4 days. So, it just not as much as we used to do. I used to try to hit up like, I think the record I had was 23 in 4 days, but that was a little insane. That was 9 o'clock movies straight through to the midnight showing. You get out of the midnight showing after the Q&A at like 2:30, and then you're up the next morning for the next 9 o'clock show. Crazy. Don't do that anymore.
I love it.
Um,
You're dedicated, and that's what this requires. So you're in
so
the trenches.
gonna hit you up with a couple some films I saw, so,
Let's see.
some of which all of which were interesting, but okay, craziest one. And this it was crazy in part because if it was a midnight movie, everything would have been fantastic, where they're a bit off the wall, they're sometimes pretty offensive to some people. This
Mm.
was 6 o'clock Friday evening, which is festival starts on Thursday, Friday evening at 6 in the Eccles Theater, the big theater there. So kind of probably one of the two or three top spots in the entire festival.
Hmm.
Something called Sasquatch Sunset. So if you haven't heard of that yet, it's something unlike anything you've ever seen before. A few people did walk out. The Variety review for it mentioned that this is not a movie most people will like, but the reviewer, loved it. And just so to give you a little bit of background, or a mini synopsis, uh, it's a story of four Sasquatches and a year in their life. The filmmakers proudly went off and talked to some anthropologists about how would Sasquatches look, act, and behave if Sasquatches were real. And so they did. And here's the thing about this movie, though. So it's both sort of like a quest for fire. This is how
Mm.
things would be, these people or these beings. But it's also a over the top raunchy comedy. And I don't know that they mesh the tones exactly. I think a portion of an audience is going to think that's it's fantastic. A lot of people are going to think less so. I mean, I've never seen a film with more bodily fluids just exploding out of various orifices because
Okay.
that's what they told them would happen. So that was, that it's the famous picture that in the 60s in Northern California, the black and white photo that sort of started the whole Sasquatch craze, that like the blurry
Yeah.
picture.
Very
They sort of
convincing.
the movie starts off with sort of a riff on that, except there's four of them. It immediately has them go down into like a valley where two of them start making love, and and that's certainly the wrong term for it, boisterously, and the other two look on, and then it goes from there. Now here's the thing though. If you don't know, if you just watch the whole movie and you're kind of like, what the heck, and a little shocked, the two lead stars are your boy Jesse Eisenberg and Riley Keough. So it's you have no
Really?
idea they're in in these I will say incredible Sasquatch outfits.
So, in concept form, the idea of this is actually intriguing, and I'm into it. I don't know. Now, obviously, I have a
Yeah,
level of taste that's a little bit more, I guess, better than the average audience goer. Let's put it that way. But
absolutely.
I think it's kind of a funny idea, especially to start with the what is it, the Magruder footage, or was that who shot that? Or
Yeah, that's the
so
equivalent of it's the wild unconfirmed beast version of yes.
yeah, and I don't know why anyone hasn't done a better look at that footage and like make an independent movie around that. I mean, they did Pottersville, which is kind of a knockoff on the whole, you
Not to
know.
mention one of your favorites, Harry and the Hendersons.
I've never actually seen Harry and the Hendersons. Mark
Wow.
Marshall, I think, worked for Spielberg at the time it was in production, though, and it's come up on the show between us. But I've never. They wanted Jimmy Stewart for that, and the only reason I say that is that's how Mark Marshall met Jimmy Stewart, as he came in for a meeting on Harry and the Hendersons. But
Really
back,
amazing.
yeah. But back to what we're talking about. So I like the idea of a year in a life and a Yeti. I mean, look, these things are kind of
Well, Yeti's
fun,
got
and they What's that?
Yeti's cousin Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, okay, Sasquatch. Like these Geico caveman commercials. We have some friends who actually worked on the caveman show and the plot. That can be a fun idea. Look, it's not rocket science, but it can be entertaining. So I'm for it. I'm like, try it. And you're saying some people walked out, huh?
But that's not a bad thing, right? I mean, that means you're making bold choices.
I think you're right, though. The idea that maybe a midnight screening of this movie would probably have helped it
Absolutely.
along in the
If
minds of
this
the
had been a
audience.
midnight screening, oh, it would have killed. I mean, this was
Yeah.
like it's because it was positioned more as a prestige picture because the brother directors, David and Nathan Zellner, um, with it became the guys who have had more films at Sundance than anyone else. They've had 5 shorts and 5 features, so they've done
Wow.
10 movies. They're kind of acclaimed. Um, and it's it always struck me that it's weird how many brothers co-direct movies, right? Like, I mean, there's so many brother and brother teams, very few sisters. I mean, the Wachowskis, but they started off as brothers.
Right. They did. See, it's an interesting point. Number one, I'm not sure I could do it myself, direct with a sibling. But
I know,
you,
I know I could, nor would it be a great result, to be honest. I love my
right.
siblings, but it's insane.
I'm not really sure that that's a great recipe for myself. And I want to say that Eric Mark used the word acclaim, which always brings up my response to that. What the fuck does that even mean? Acclaimed.
Oh, hey gang, Ken Matroni here. Let me take a break from the cartoons. I want to ask you a favor. Uh, would you do us a favor and help us cure NMOSD and cancer by going to the Gunthy Jackson Foundation page and donating? That would be like super cool. We'd all like totally appreciate it. I know they would too. So I'm gonna get back to the cartoons because, as you know, these things don't draw themselves. And you go donate. Anyway, thanks, gang. Really appreciate it.